Sketch the curve. So let's take a look at this one. This says x equals 3 sine t and y equals 2 cos of t. So what we're going to need before we graph any of these is our xy table. So now I'm going to pick values that kind of relate to cos of t and sine of t. So I'm going to pick like 0, pi 4s. So those are the values I'm going to pick here. So there we go. Now when I plug in 0 for sine here, so for my x, I'm going to get 3 times 0 because the sine of 0 is 0. So that's going to be 0. And for my y, I'm going to get 2. And the cos of 0 is 1, so I'll get 2. So this is going to be 0, 2. So I'm going to just run through all the rest of these. Now again, keep in mind, make sure we are putting the decimal approximations for these, because if we just use the square roots and all that other business, we're not going to know how to graph those. So we'll be putting all the decimals in there instead because we're graphing them. So here are the values. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to graph these. So I'm going to graph the first point, 0, 2. So that's going to be here. And then 2.1, 1.4, and 3, 0, and then 2.1, negative 1.4, and then we have 0, negative 2. And then we have negative 2.1, negative 1.4. Oops. Then we have negative 3, 0. And then we have negative 2.1, 1.4. And then we have 0, 2, so we're back here again. Okay, so those are our points. Now if we just kind of graph the path, we start from here, go around in this direction, there it is. And then we keep going. And then we go back around. There's our path. So again, there was one thing I forgot about on the last graph. And it's a key point here, that we have to put the direction on this. So we started here. We don't have to label that or anything, but I do have to put an arrow specifying the direction. They call that the orientation of the curve. So we definitely have to have that, and I should have put that on the last graph. I apologize. But don't forget your arrow. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two parametric equations and write them as a single equation of x and y, kind of like we did for the other. Now this one is a little different here. We see that this is an ellipse, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to convert this into the xy equation. So anytime we're thinking of something like circular this way, the approach we want to take is using sine squared x. I won't use x, I'll use a different letter. Sine squared t plus cosine squared t is equal to 1. So now if I just use this idea, and anytime I'm dealing with something circular, this is what I'm thinking of, just this equation. Now again, if I take my original equations here, my parametric equations, and all I'm doing is solving them for sine of t and cos of t, I get the sine of t equals x over 3, and the cos of t equals y over 2. And in essence, what I can do after this, I just plug those in. So for the sine of t, I'm just plugging in x over 3. So really what I get is this. So I would get this equation. And then essentially what I have to do here is now square them. So I'm going to get x squared over 9 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. So this is actually the equation that I need to come up with for this problem. That's what this is. And if you remember about the ellipses, this number down here on the bottom squared, so I think of it of this form, x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. This is my distance from the center on the x. This is my distance from the center to the y, in the y direction. So this one here is in the x direction, this one here is in the y direction. Now take a look at this. I'll just kind of show this to you. So then if I look at this one, that means my distance from the center in the x direction is 3 squared, so it'd be 3. So if you look at this distance here, this is 1, this is 2, that's 3 away. And then similarly, the idea for the y then should be 2, because that would be 2 squared there. And if you look at it, I get 1, I get 2, it's 2 away. So that's one easy way to graph these. Once I see sine and cosine together this way, right away my mind goes to something circular, and I know that right away. When I see sine and cosine together, that's what I'm looking for always, something circular. It can be an ellipse, a circle, anything of that sort. So that's our answer. So remember, our answer for this one was only the graph here. The equation I just kind of gave you because you're going to see that pop up frequently too in this chapter or section.